Hello, welcome or welcome back, depending on if you're new here. Today, I'm back with another travel spread. It's been a few months since I've done one of these. I think the last one was Charleston, which was at the beginning of the year, so if you haven't seen that one, I will link it below. This spread is for a recent trip to Acadia National Park in Maine, and I had been looking forward to this trip for months. It was sort of cold and very rainy literally the entire time we were there, and it was still absolutely incredible. This was only the second national park I've ever been to. It sounds kind of crazy, but Acadia is actually the closest full-fledged national park to New York, despite being 8 to 9 hours away. So it's not really easy for me to get to one. There are a lot of great state parks in the area, but Acadia is the closest national one. And I had been to Maine before, but not the park or Bar Harbor, so I was really looking forward to this. Before I forget, I should mention I am painting this in my usual travel journal notebook. It is an Etcher Perfect sketchbook, and I actually only have a few pages left of this, so I guess I might be doing a sketchbook tour soon, which is kind of exciting. I didn't realize how close I was to the end of this one until I was setting this piece up, and it's kind of cool to see how my travel spreads have progressed over the last few years, because I haven't only used this journal for travel spreads, but all of the travel spreads that I've done in here, so that's fun. But anyway, back to the trip. I was also really excited for the trip because we were staying at Under Canvas, which, if you haven't heard of it, is a glamping company. They have a bunch of locations at national parks around the country, and I've been to their Yellowstone location, which was the first national park I'd been to, and had an incredible time. And the Acadia location is literally right on the water. It's so beautiful. And I like glamping because I love being outdoors and in nature and hiking and all of that, but I also like having a real shower at the end of the day and like amenities and stuff. So this is sort of a nice middle ground where you get more of the immersion in nature, but you still get a real shower. So this tent here on the left side of the spread is our tent at the camp. And I'll put some clips in so you can see what the location looks like. They have one big tent where the front desk and restaurant are, and behind it, looking out to the water, are a bunch of fire pits because they have unlimited s'mores all the time. And you can go down to the water and walk along the rocks. It's just so pretty. You could see down to the water from our tent too, and it's like the shell of it is a tent, but it's huge and has a real bed with nice sheets and chairs and a private bathroom and no electricity, but they give you a battery-powered lantern and a huge battery pack to charge your devices that you can switch out as needed, so you still get what you need. I was so happy we decided to stay there. It was such a cool experience. The next sketch here, and I'm going through the trip in the order of the travel spread, which is not the order of the trip, so if it seems like I am bouncing around, that's why. It's just how it worked out. But this second sketch is from the Norumbega Mountain Trail. I am so happy we were able to get this hike in. Like I mentioned before, it rained for most of our trip, which is unfortunate, and it meant we weren't able to get to a couple of the hikes on our list, like Beehive, which is really precarious and dangerous in the rain. So on this day, it was drizzling or raining throughout the day, but it wasn't too bad. And this is a loop that is a little over 3 miles long and combines pieces of the Goat Trail, the Norumbega Mountain Trail, and the Lower Hadlock Pond Loop all together. So you climb up to the peak of the Norumbega Mountain and then back down to walk around a section of Hadlock Pond, and then you loop back around to the beginning. It was a gorgeous hike, and we saw basically no people the entire time. There are a ton of beautiful coastal views in Acadia, so it was really nice to be in a thick, moss-covered forest instead. Plus, there was a great variety of landscapes along the route. I would say it was definitely still a little dangerous in the rain, especially the beginning on Goat's Trail, because it was really slippery and it's a bit of a rock scramble, and you're climbing up rocks on your way to the peak, and then on your way down, you're walking along some very slippery tree roots. So we definitely still had to be very careful, but it was so worth it. The view at the peak is nice, but the path itself was also just so wonderful. The walk down from the peak had several sections that were strongly giving fairy tale forest vibes, and I'm telling you, I cannot get over how gorgeous the abundance of moss was. Plus, I saw a fun amount of different mushrooms along the way, and there are definitely several paintings I want to make from this hike, but for this journal spread, they are encompassed by this trail post here on the left because I really liked it. And then moving on to the right side of the spread, on the bottom left is Cadillac Mountain. It's one of the super well-known sights to see in Acadia. It's supposed to be amazing for sunrise. Unfortunately for us, we had sunrise tickets for the second day we were there, and we woke up at 3 a.m. to an absolute downpour outside. We ended up not even going that day since it would have been a miserable waste of time. Luckily, we had backup tickets for sunset on the next day because we were hoping that if one day was bad, we could still do the other. But if you're looking at this sketch and saying, hey, where's the amazing view of the islands and the ocean? I couldn't draw them because unfortunately we did not see them. It was, of course, also raining at sunset that night. We headed over anyway because it wasn't pouring, it was just kind of drizzly and gray, but we saw nothing. It was so foggy. It was almost comical because they have these signs with the view that you're supposed to see and an explanation of why it's so special, and then right behind it is just nothing. I still really enjoyed the view. The foggy trees were really cool to see, and I got some really great photos that I'll want to paint later, but yeah, I mean, I'm really glad we went up to the peak despite the weather and that we were able to get up there at least once, but I wouldn't say that I've crossed Cadillac Mountain off the bucket list or anything, if that makes sense, because despite liking what we saw, it wasn't the Cadillac Mountain experience, you know? Or it was, but it wasn't the one I wanted. After our failed experience on the first Cadillac Mountain day, we decided to instead go knock out some of the things that are easy to do in the rain, since it was going to be pretty gross out all day and definitely not a good day for hiking. So we saw Bass Head Harbor Lighthouse, which isn't in the spread, but I enjoyed seeing, and we checked out Bar Harbor, and then we drove the Park Loop, which is a 27-mile road that drives around a lot of the big sites to see, like Sand Beach, Thunder Hole, Otter Point. You can hike between a lot of the places as well, but we ended up having to drive it because of the weather, and when you do that, you just stop and get out to walk a bit along the way whenever you want to. So this top sketch on the right side of the page is Sand Beach. It's one of the few beaches made of sand on the island, and it's nestled in by rocks and trees, and it was so beautiful. I keep saying things are beautiful, but they just are. They're all beautiful, and the overcast weather and the waves crashing was interestingly peaceful, and I think because of the weather it was a little less crowded. Along the rest of the loop, you see a ton of incredible rocky water views, and it's a lot of waves crashing into cliffs and dark green trees. The loop as a whole is a great overview of a lot of areas of the park, which is especially nice if you only have a few days there. And while I was disappointed about the sunrise and, again, the weather, I actually really enjoyed seeing a lot of these places in such a moody vibe. It was really stunning in its own way, even if it meant that we couldn't hike as much as we wanted to. And then this last sketch at the bottom right corner is actually the very first thing we did at the park. Jordan Pond is another one of those must-see places at Acadia. It's a pond with an easy but lovely walking path around it. Right from the beginning of the path, you get this stunning view of the water with the iconic bubbles in the background, which are two round mountains that look like they're bubbling up from the ground. Part of the path involves walking over raised wooden planks, which was fun. And since this was our nicest day, we were able to take a detour and climb up the south bubble as we walked our way around the pond. It's a rock scramble that I would not have done if it was raining, but I'm so happy we were able to do it because you get a great view of the pond with the ocean in the distance. We were at Jordan Pond mid-afternoon on a Thursday, which was perfect timing because it wasn't that busy, and Jordan Pond can get packed. I can imagine that the wooden plank paths are an absolute nightmare when it's busy because they're not that wide. There are steps to the side you can take and wait for people to pass, but if there's a ton of people going back and forth, I'm sure it takes forever. But luckily we didn't have to deal with that. And once we were done with the hike, we went to Jordan Pond House, which is a restaurant on the edge of the pond that's known for their popovers. So, of course, we had to go, and we tried their popovers, of course. And then we also got a popover sundae, because why not? And then it's not in this spread, but on our last day, we did 2 more short hikes before we left in the afternoon. The Wonderland and Ship Harbor trails are both pretty easy short hikes that take you down to the water, and both are supposedly really, really good for tide pooling if you go at low tide. We were not there at low tide, so I can't attest to that, but they were both lovely walks. I couldn't fit them on this spread, so they're not here, but I have some views that I want to paint from them at some point. But anyway, all in all, this was an incredible trip. We had so much amazing lobster, as one does when they're in coastal Maine. There were so many gorgeous views. I love an excuse to go out and be in nature and spend time with family or friends on a hike and be able to breathe in that nice clean air, or in this case, the smell of rain. It was a shame that we couldn't do Cadillac Mountain to its fullest potential or hike Beehive or Stargaze, but I'm really happy with the hikes that we did get in, and we managed to do a lot of the big things to see when you're in Acadia and Bar Harbor. So I think we really made the best of the weather, and I feel so lucky that I was able to go and would absolutely go back in a heartbeat. I'm also really happy with this spread. I got my favorite parts of the trip in here and some of my favorite views, and I like the color palette I ended up with. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more from me, as it really helps out the channel. All of the materials I'm using here are linked below in case you're interested in learning more about them. If you've been to Acadia, let me know in the comments what your favorite hikes are. I would love to hear about it. If you've hiked the Beehive, please tell me your thoughts, because I was so intrigued but also kind of scared at the thought of doing that hike. Or comment below where I should hike next. And yeah, here is the final spread. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.